Many of us have heard of the Romans road, a path to escape hell and go to heaven. But the truth is, the word heaven only appears twice in Romans, but never as a final destination. And the word hell doesn't make any appearance at all. Paul's letter isn't about that. He has something bigger in mind, something that matters right now. I'm Michael, the Bible ReThinker. It's time to rethink. Paul's letter to the Romans is about finding meaning and purpose in the present. Paul believed your purpose as a human was to bear the image of God, to reflect God's hope, God's love, God's design into the world. That message is central to understanding the significance of Abraham, formerly called Abram, in Romans 4, and what it has to do with you. The first time we encounter the Lord speaking to Abram, he told him to leave his home and travel to a new land. The Lord made huge promises to Abram. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will bless all people on earth through you. Genesis pictures Abram as a new Adam, the one through whom God's purposes for creation would finally find fruition. Notice what he doesn't promise. He says nothing here about going to heaven. The reason is because that was never God's intention for humanity. He desires for us to be image bearers and to bring his rule to bear in the world. That was Adam's task and where Adam failed. It is with these ambitions that God called Abram. Sometime later, the Lord gave Abram this incredible reassurance. He said, "Do not be afraid. I am your shield. Your reward will be very great." Abram's concern was not whether he would go to heaven after he died. His concern was 180 degrees opposite. He was worried about the perpetuation of his family on the earth. God's purpose for humanity was always for us to dwell on earth. Abram reminded God that the promises weren't really worth much unless God provided him with an heir. God reassured Abram that he would indeed have a son. Abram believed the Lord, and then something really extraordinary happened. He credited it to him as righteousness. To make sense of what is going on here, we need to take a deeper look at what righteousness means in this context. Why would Abram even need to be called righteous in the first place? The word means far more than right behavior. In the Hebrew Bible, righteousness often means acting faithfully toward the obligations of a relationship. A word even more precise than relationship is covenant. For God, righteousness means keeping his covenant promises. For people, it means responding with loyalty, trust, and obedience. It is very difficult to grasp the meaning of covenant in modern culture because we mostly don't have them anymore. But imagine a married couple, George and Sally, who receive devastating news. Their close friends have been killed in a sudden car accident, leaving behind their only child, Jennifer. Overnight, Jennifer's entire world collapses. The people who loved her, protected her, and gave her identity are gone. What would become of her? Her life was in ruins. She had never been more vulnerable than she was now. Jennifer had known George and Sally for years. She'd eaten at their table, laughed in their home, and trusted their kindness. But now she wonders something she's never had to ask before. Will they take me in? Will they choose me? And George and Sally feel the weight of that question. Adoption isn't sentimental. It's not just affection. It's a lifelong commitment. It means stepping into the gap, taking responsibility, providing protection, and reshaping their entire future around this child's well-being. Would George and Sally step in and help? It would require a huge level of commitment for the rest of their lives to be Jennifer's parents. Jennifer had a willingness to obey her prospective parents, and George and Sally were willing to provide Jennifer with protection and a desire to meet her needs. Jennifer is willing to trust them. George and Sally are willing to love her. But willingness isn't enough. Something formal must happen, something binding, something that gives Jennifer security. So they go to family court. They stand before a judge. And in that courtroom, something sacred takes place. A new family is formed. The judge hears both sides. Jennifer expresses her desire to belong. George and Sally declare their commitment to provide, protect, and love. And when the judge finalizes the adoption, Jennifer walks out of that courtroom no longer vulnerable, no longer uncertain. Now she is safe. She is claimed. She is part of a covenant family. The Lord was like George and Sally. He could provide for the needs of Abram. Abram needed the provision of the Lord. Without the Lord's help, it looked like he would never have a child. After reassuring Abram, God doesn't just offer comforting words, he initiates a covenant ceremony. This is the ancient equivalent of the courtroom scene we just imagined. He told Abram about the land his descendants would one day possess. Abram asked how he could know he would gain possession of it. It was then that there were several animals that were sacrificed. Abram fell into a trance, and the presence of the Lord passed between the pieces of meat. All of this, which sounds very strange to modern ears, was comparable to going to court for adoption. It was the formal process for entering into a covenant. In the ancient Near East, passing through the pieces of meat meant, may what happened to these animals happen to me if I break this covenant. Here is something mind-blowing. Only God passed through. This wasn't two equal parties, but the person of the higher position was taking greater responsibility upon himself. This is what we mean when Abram was credited with righteousness. God is forming a covenant family. It has nothing to do with sin. Sin is never mentioned here. It has nothing to do with heaven. It isn't a legal verdict. It is God entering into a covenant with Abram, guaranteeing he would keep his promises. Abram would respond with faith, with trust, and devotion. The end goal would be for Abram and his descendants to be faithful image bearers in the world. They would become a great and blessed nation who would deliver blessings to all peoples on earth. George and Sally became parents and chose to take responsibility of caring for Jennifer. Jennifer would respond by honoring her new parents. So when God credits righteousness to Abram, it means God recognizes Abram as a faithful covenant partner. Not because Abram is morally perfect, but because Abram trusts God's promise and steps into the covenant relationship. It is this story that Paul is working through in Romans 4. Abraham didn't enter into covenant with God on the basis of circumcision. That came later. You see, Israel thought that the key marker that identified them as the people of God was circumcision. It dated back to Abraham, and it was also part of the law God gave to Israel at Mount Sinai. But Paul has come to realize that because of the death and resurrection of Jesus, the true mark that identifies the people of God isn't circumcision, it is faith. After all, Abram was credited with righteousness before circumcision. Paul puts it, he received circumcision as a sign and seal of the status of covenant membership on the basis of faith, which he had when he was still uncircumcised. Abram's faith was primary, circumcision was tertiary. We learned in Romans 3:30 that membership in this Abrahamic covenant is not on the basis of circumcision, meaning it does not automatically include genealogical Jews, but it is solely on the basis of faith. The parameters for this faith is Jesus. He was delivered over to death for our sins and was raised to life for our justification, or our inclusion in this covenant. The prophets taught that only a faithful remnant of Israel would inherit the restored covenant. And the work of Jesus has cleared the way for Gentiles to also be included in the covenant without becoming Jews. Paul said, Abraham is our father in the sight of God, in whom he believed. The God who gives life to the dead and calls into being things that were not. It is like the song we used to sing. Father Abraham had many sons. Many sons had Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. This covenant family is defined by faith, not geography, nor genealogy. When we enter into covenant with God on the basis of faith, we are at the starting point for fulfilling the purpose for which God created us, to bear His image in the world, to radiate His love, and to bring healing and restoration. God has promised to give us blessing. He will bless those who bless you. And you have been given the divine assignment to bring blessing to this world. God promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations. That promise has been kept. You are the living embodiment of that promise. And then there was the promise of land. That is not left out. Paul said Abraham would be heir of the world. That's right, not just a sliver of land in the Middle East, heir of the whole world. When Jesus returns, the children of Abraham, that's you and me, will become heirs of the entire world. God keeps his covenant promises. Paul isn't telling you how to escape the world. He's telling you who you are in it. You bear the image of God. You are Abraham's family. You are God's covenant partner. You are called to bring blessing. And through Jesus, You are the heir of the world God promised. This is your purpose. This is your identity.